Hello and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. I'm just gonna pick the same thing I had always picked before. So we're back into lemonade moment here with Derek and Cove about to make some delicious mouth-watering hamburgers. Steamed hams. Then the spiky-haired chef ducked down and disappeared from the sight. If you could call someone who made lemonade a chef, that is. When he popped back into view, framed by the back wall and support beams of the front kitchen, Derek was holding a silver strainer. A colander, if you will. He plopped it into the sink and it sharply clinked against the metal basin. Derek took the bag he set nearby and dumped every single lemon into the waiting container. So yeah, we're gonna go through the whole process here. Hope you're ready. He turned the faucet so he could clean the cheery fruits. Are they cheery? Are lemons really a cheery fruit? I guess because they're yellow. The sound of running water added an extra layer of relaxation to the atmosphere. Cove stopped dawdling and joined the already hard at work Derek in the kitchen. He grabbed a cutting board and a large knife from an upper drawer. It was his house and he'd wordlessly claimed responsibility for the riskiest part of making the lemonade. Cove also directed you towards the sugar and a few other things. As it turned out, Mr. Holden didn't have an actual lemon squeezer, so you were going to be doing that by hand. He did have a perfectly crystal clear glass pitcher that'd be perfect for lemonade. The body of it was completely round ball shaped. It had a narrow edge that pulled in at the top, with one side pinched into a spout. As far as you could tell, it had never been used. Yeah, funny story. I have a pitcher, and I made lemonade in it like twice. It's not this fancy, though. I mean, what? Why would you keep something like this if you're never going to use it? I'm a utilitarian person, so... Also, the amount of time she spends describing the pitcher is a thing in and of itself.
Hey.
Have you made lemonade before, Marina, Cove? Derek casually questioned both of you while he hefted the so-called colander up and down to shake off some of the water clinging to the freshly washed lemons. I called it a colander, Derek. I'm Team Colander. I make it all the time. I have, but only in summer. I've done it a few times. Maybe I don't remember. Nope, never. I've done it a few times. Me and Cove have made it together before? What about you, Cove? What about you, Cove? I've made really simple lemonade before, just for me. So you could decide that you and Cove had made it together before, which is interesting, which would completely change this answer. I like that. I squeezed one lemon into a glass of water and dumped in a spoonful of sugar. It wasn't that great, but it was easy. That's not lemonade, Cove. That's putting lemon in your water. And lemon and sugar in your water. That's not even lemonade. Cool. Derek hummed while placing lemons on a clean kitchen towel. He took a fruit from the colander with his left hand. I'm glad we're calling it a colander now. Passed it over his right and placed that down while grabbing a new one.
It's all good.
I've made it before too. Fresh lemonade is so good. I'm excited for this. Marina would have made it with Lizzie. Maybe when she was real little, mommy might have helped. But she would have made it with Lizzie. So am I. Your tools were all prepared now, so the team shifted from the actual creation of the into the actual creation of the traditional summer drink. Yeah, I gotta get me some lemonade soon. It makes my stomach a little upset, but I really do gotta get some. I like regular better than pink now that I'm getting older. Used to like pink lemonade a lot, but nothing beats fresh lemonade. And I only ever have the processed stuff. I don't think I've ever had real. I mean, don't get me wrong. Whenever I see little kids on the side of the road with a lemonade stand, when I'm out garage sailing or something, I absolutely stop and pay for it. So I probably have had real lemonade at some points. Although I wouldn't doubt that most kids just buy some lemonade at the store and put it in glasses and sell it back and resale it, basically. Cove had cut the lemons into chunks. Derek gave Cove a tip to roll the lemons against the board before slicing them to get the juices going. You and Derek worked hard together to squish the fruits. He squeezed the lemon parts over the pitcher itself with a smaller strainer balanced over the mouth of it to catch the seeds. Hey! Piece by piece, you crushed the thick peel into itself to pop the little sacks of juice in the front. The tips of your fingers began to wrinkle after a while. But slowly, a murky liquid pooled at the bottom of the glass container. When enough of the fruits were chopped, Cove joined into the juicing effort. The three of you huddled around the counter together. You leaned over over the one pitcher and strained to get everything you could into everything you could out of the little yellow menaces, while not accidentally squirting acid in anyone's eyes. Ah, citric acid, the bane of our existence. The precariousness of the situation aside, Cove continued the conversation with a question of his own. Derek, you've made lemonade, but did you ever do the whole lemonade stand thing where you try to sell it to random people who pass by? Again, like I said, I've never done this because I didn't have anywhere to do it, but I do buy from kids all the time to do this. Has Derek? Oh yeah, it was a mess, and I think we only sold like 2 cups. Nicolas kept drinking our supply, and Jorge's efforts to stop him spilled even more of it.
Oh man.
Plus, the 2 kids fighting over the lemonade jar probably scared people away from the stall. But it's not like I was expecting it to be some kind of extra entrepreneurial success. It was for Nico and Jorge to have fun, and it did, mostly. This is a lie, Derek. Let's go back a sec. Let's go back a sec. This right here is a lie. If you write this, you have never visited a lemonade stand run by children. 2 little kids playing in a lemonade jar, that would not scare people away. That would attract more people, because them kids is cute, okay? Videotape that stuff, put it on TikTok, it'll go viral. As usual, tales of Derek's endeavors as a big brother got Cove to chuckle. You were also smiling, even though your fingers had started to cramp after so much lemon compacting. Me and Elizabeth did that too. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. She would have done it with Lizzie. I didn't even try. I could never talk to strangers like that. Wow. Imagine picking that now. That's a bold-faced lie. Lizzie took it very seriously. She shouted at every person who passed by, though there weren't many of those. You've seen our neighborhood. Almost no one comes here, and our moms wouldn't let us go all the way to the main street to set it up.
I gotcha.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem. It wasn't all that. We did have high success rates with the poor people who crossed our path. Lizzie would chase them down if they tried to pretend they didn't see her. See, this is why I thought Lizzie would do this. It sounds like a Lizzie thing, right? And Marina loved Lizzie. She still does, but you know. Too bad for them, the lemonade we made was horrible. They got a really nice drink out of the annoyance, though. I have no idea if any really liked the drink, but at least they said it was good. Yeah, this would be more Marina. Derek was the one laughing, and he squeezed in her chunk with a wink.
Cool.
That's impressive. It's a hard market out there.
Man.
Man, all this business talk makes me think about how I only ever met either of you because my dad partnered with Cove's dad's business. Yeah. Huh. That business. If that hadn't happened, you probably would never have learned I existed. I love his face right now. You'd still know each other, obviously. I like his facial expressions, too. Derek squeezed his 12th lemon chunk with a fittingly sour expression on his face. He accidentally made himself feel like a third wheel. No. We're not a third wheel because we're not dating. In the cluster of human juicers, Derek was in the middle, yet he began to fade despite being there next to you. You and Cove looked at one another from over Derek's lowered head. Cove pushed himself to smile through his concern while also giving Derek's arm a little nudge with his elbow. I worry about that kind of thing sometimes too. If my dad hadn't picked the street to move to, I wouldn't have met Marina. The bravery he mustered began to disintegrate after putting that truth to the front of his mind. Cove swallowed bitterly. I don't like it when I start thinking about that.
It's okay.
But my dad still would have had his business, so I still would have met you. Sheepishly, Derek pressed his shoulders up around his face. He managed a small smile. Shoulders is a word I have a hard time saying.
Yeah.
It's rough for all of us. Where your parents live and what your parents do has to matter so much to everything. Derek bit his lip, unwilling to let himself continue to speak negatively. I mean, I made a few friends through my dad's baseball team, I guess. My parents weren't overly social creatures though, and we lived in the middle of the woods, so you know, that's my life. But like a turtle coming out of his shell, Derek lifted himself onto the counter and rejoined you and Cove at his regular eye level. Off the counter. And rejoined you and Cove at his regular eye level. We did meet each other, and we're friends. That's what counts. Exactly. What if don't make a difference because we're really all here? We could have met another way somehow. That's three of us who worry about those things. I'm glad we got to meet. Soon we'll be old enough to decide everything for ourselves, our lives. Do you smell too incredible? Yeah, I think the top one, right? Man, imagine being this person. Yeah. Cove quietly watched over his friend, soothed by his uplifted mood. Then his lips parted and a pleasant thought came to mind. Hey, this is where I was standing when I first met you.
Right?
Derek bounced up on his toes and tossed the lemon piece he'd been working on over the trash can. It landed inside perfect. But I was on the other side of the counter back then, and now I'm here in the kitchen with you. That caught your ear and you lifted one of your brows. See, it's nice to know how they met. These guys are friends too. You know, Derek could be our friend forever, couldn't he? You remember the night Cove told you he'd met a new kid named Derek, but didn't say much about it. I like that we met Derek through Cove. And you can date him. Behind Cove's back. No, I'm just kidding. All you really knew was that their parents had started working together, and then Derek began to come around the neighborhood for visits. Derek could recognize an intrigued audience when he saw one. And did he know how to... And do what he knew how to do. Tell the rest of the story. Jeez. Mr. Holden invited my dad over for a meal at his house after the partnership was official. He talked about Cove before, when him and my dad were getting to know each other. You can't get away from hearing about Mr. Holden's top-notch son if you spend any time with him. Yeah, that's Cliff Holden for you. Boy, he sure does love his son. Off to the side, Cove mumbled with embarrassment over what clearly thought was an unnecessary addition. Derek laughed at the minor interruption off, and went on.
So...
My dad suggested that I come too. Since we were the same age, Mr. Holden was apparently really into the idea. He offered me $20 to be friends with Cove. I had no idea what to expect from something like that, but I wanted to go on a sort of business dinner with my dad. Felt pretty cool to be invited, and then I went. Whatever I was imagining before I got here, Mr. Holden definitely wasn't it. I had thought my dad was casual for a professional business person, but Cove's dad takes the cake. A warmth came to Cove's expression. Not the red, hot heat fluster from before, but a gentleness that was based in his honest love for his parent. A lot of people don't expect Dad to be how he is. What'd you think about me when you first met me, you know? Derek mindlessly scratched his damp hand against the back of his head. A stray lemon seed clung to one of the spikes of his hair. He didn't want to cut the two off, so the little bit went on unmentioned.
No way!
Honestly, when I spotted you in the back of the kitchen, I thought Mr. Holden had another older kid he was hiding, because there was no way that guy was 13. You were so tall and fit, and you just stared at people. You seemed like a tough upper grade teen who'd never talked to somebody like me. Yeah, I love little Derek. Man, he's like me, short people problems. Except I'm not athletic, so you know. You snickered under your breath. If you didn't know any better, you'd think he was describing Elizabeth. Having that description be assigned to Cove Holden of all people was hilarious. Cole was equally startled by Derek's choice of words. His eyes opened wide in amazement.
Oh.
You thought I was tough?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did, but thought is definitely the right word for that. That instantly put Cove into a putty mood. He squeezed both his palms against the marble countertop, not bothering to squeeze another lemon. Cove didn't want to play anymore. Now Cove is mad because he's not a tough guy anymore. Derek leaned his shoulder against Cove's side affectionately. He reached past him for the lemon slice Cove wasn't using and started juicing himself.
Sorry.
There's nothing wrong with being a softie. I like that about you. I like that about you too, softie. Softie! Even athletic Cove is a softie. Bringing Derek's statement to life, Cove visibly relaxed his stance. The tone of his voice was equally delicate. Stop being a little vexed there, Cove. I guess it's not too bad. Cove was honestly kidding himself if he thought he was anything other than a sensitive sweetheart. But just like Derek, that was something he treasured about him. It's great, Cove. Cove took a new piece of fruit and rejoined the lemonade-making efforts. Derek pinched an eye shut from the tension of crushing a chunk in his fist. He hesitantly continued the topic. I mean, I'm the tough person in this team, in this room here. Out of the three of you, Marina Foster is like the harshest person. She punched the kid in the face. I mean, you two had to hold her back. You got Mr. Nice Guy over here and Mr. Softy over here. Marina's a badass compared to the two of you. So, what about me? When you first met me, what kind of impression did you get? With much less force, Cove used both hands to work on a single lemon. He answered the question while staring off into space. That was likely the same expression Derek had seen the moment they'd met. The face he dreaded was intimidating rather than easily distracted. I thought, you probably like sports. All three of you shook from laughter, bumping against each other with your closeness, like a bunch of grapes on a vine rustling in the wind.
I get it.
Okay, Marina, your turn. What did you think about me when we met? Oh, your mind drifted back to a few months ago before summer vacation had begun. You stepped out of your house late in the evening and Cove was sitting on the curb with someone else, someone you'd never seen in your life, not even passing in school. So we just met Derek a couple months ago. I didn't realize that. I thought we'd been friends for a while, but literally, this is the first summer vacation we've hung out with Derek. A green-eyed boy with a football jersey who was joking around lightheartedly with your longtime neighbor. You guessed immediately that he was the Derek kid from the Holden's new business relationship. That or Cove learned a magic spell to summon a new friend out of nowhere. She would think that, though. You had stood there staring for only a second, but the newcomer noticed your presence quickly. He jumped right to his feet, jogged across the street, and stuck out his hand for you to shake. With a wide grin that you were so familiar with now, he introduced himself to you for the first time as Derek. I thought you were so nice. I thought you were younger than Cove. I thought you were the politest teenager I ever met. I too thought, this guy likes sports. I thought you were cute. I didn't know what to think. I thought you were the politest teenager I'd ever met. No, she would never think that. She's not gonna tell me she's a teenager. I too thought this guy liked sports.
Okay.
Yeah, well, fair. I expect to hear what you thought of me now. Derek's gaze shifted from the picture in front of him to settle on you instead. There was a focus in his breath that made you hold your... focus in his eyes that made you hold your breath from anticipation. I thought you were really fun. Wow, it's kind of flattering to know you've made such a good first impression on Derek. Thank you for telling me. Well, I'm glad that you didn't think I sucked. Okay. You smirked, began to blush. I'm glad you didn't think I sucked. Definitely not. By the way, you have a lemon seed in your hair?
Oh.
Derek raked his hands through his light brown strands blindly. Unfortunately, he focused on the top and sides, so he never hit the right spot. One of your hands covered the laughter coming out of your mouth, and you used the other to point out the target in the back of his head. Finally, he was able to brush the seed onto the floor. He bent down to pick it up and dropped it to the side of the counter, to the side on the counter. Thanks, Marina. You're welcome. We could add a little lemon zest too. I'll do that. Derek fumbled to move the topic to something else. His darkening cheeks are probably the reason why. I forgot that we did so much chatting when we made this lemonade. Jeez, this is gonna be longer than I thought. Do you have a grater or a peeler? Yeah. Cove gestured to the same drawer the knife had come from. Derek dug through it and successfully retrieved a multi-textured grater. He took the stuff to the opposite side of the kitchen, not to get in the way, and worked with his back to you and Cove. Cove tilted his head thoughtfully. He was inspired by Derek's work ethic. If it's gonna be fancy lemonade with zest, then we should do that thing where you put the whole slices in it too. I can cut a few of the leftover lemons.
Cool.
Marina, can you pour the water and sugar in the pitcher so it can start to dissolve? Yep. You started by filling up the sparkly jug with chilled, filtered water from the fridge, and you remembered to put ice in the drink, too. The diluted lemon juice sloshed around and threatened to spill over as you pile in the ice. You left some space for Cove's lemon slices. Finally, you took hold of a hefty bag of white sugar and pulled it close to the counter's edge. Stray grains of sugar that coated the bag came to stuck against your still damp fingers. Instead, you felt like you were building a sandcastle at the beach. I mean, no, she's actually not a huge sugar person. I'm just thinking of the episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil I watched yesterday, where she pours a whole thing of sugar on her burritos. She would probably add like a half cup of sugar, full cup of sugar. You searched around the kitchen until you found a colorful ceramic mixing spoon. You dunked it in the pitcher and carefully stirred. Quite a smile grew on your face as you watched the bits of sugar swirl around a pale yellow drink. At this point, the separate ingredients had truly come together to become lemonade. Round and round you turned the spoon. It was almost hypnotic the way the juice swirled inside the pitcher. Your trance was broken by a sharp hiss at your side. You dropped the spoon, losing it into the depths of the lemonade, and snapped your head towards Cove. He was holding the left hand up to his face. A thick bubble of dark red had slipped down from one of his fingers and left a streak over his palm.
Huh.
You okay? That's not great. Where do you keep the bandages? He screamed inside of his wound. Derek, Cove's hurt. You completely froze. That's not great. Where do you keep the bandages? Cove plainly shrugged. It's nothing. Without even thinking about it, Cove reached his hand down to wipe the mess in his pants. Luckily for his trousers, Derek flipped around the commotion. His tense, worried face took in the scene, and a disbelieving shout startled Cove into freezing. Don't do that! Cove stared incredulously from the corner of his eyes, with an arm awkwardly sticking out from his side. His sudden pause in the strange position reminded you of the red light, green light game you played in your elementary school, except there was no green, only red in Cove's vision. So, Cove's version. Seriously, Cove, you don't wipe blood on your pants. Like, anything else is I'm not gonna get mad at you about, but blood stains, my dude! Oh my god. I'm fine. No way. You're gonna ruin your clothes and maybe your finger. Could get infected. Derek stretched his arms high to grasp the taller team by the shoulders. He stepped backward, getting Cove to move with him. We're gonna clean that off for real. Cove muttered an averted fine as he stumbled along with Derek, who was reversing out of the kitchen. Marina, do you mind cleaning up the cutting board? No, I'll take care of it. You gathered the knife out of the cutting board and brought it over the trash. Lemon slices couldn't be used in the drink after that. You'd use the knife to scrape them off and into the bag. Then you got to rinsing the board and knife into the sink with soap and hot water. You switched between staring down at the suds and checking over the counter for the boys. Yeah, Cove gonna bleed all over my lemonade? No thank you, Cove. Fucking Cove. You were careful not to accidentally get a cut on your own, but it was hard not to wonder what was going on down the hall. By the time you finished washing up, Cove and Derek re-emerged from the living room. An unassuming brown bandage was wrapped around the cut in Cove's finger. Derek, the nursemaid over here.
It's okay.
It wasn't deep. We washed it off, got it clean, put a bandage on it. It was new. Derek marched with confidence right back to the kitchen. Cove hesitated in the living room. He waved apologetically.
Hey.
Hey, you really okay? I definitely am. I just ate myself with a lemon slice. When the lemon slipped. The juice stinging me was way worse than the cut itself. That's a relief. Thanks for helping, Derek. Thank you too. It's cleaner in here. He held his hand up for you for a high five. It had been washed off clean the lemon juice that coated it before. You slapped his hand. Always high fives. You swung your palm forward and clapped Derek back. He pumped his arms enthusiastically as a follow-up. Cove walked over the joint to you, smiling ruefully. Thanks for caring. Always, man. Now what?
Well,
He took a second to look between you and Cove as he puzzled out the next step, then he beamed. Let's try our lemonade. It doesn't need the slices of the zest. Derek gave an exaggerated wave at the front of his chest, blowing the whole thing off. Cove eagerly supported the sentiment. He was more than ready to put prior incident behind him.
You're right.
Yeah, lemonade doesn't need to be fancy. It's lemonade. We got fancy umbrellas, my dudes. They can still be fancy. Behold, lemonade. Derek nodded twice as he strained to lift the nearly full pitcher. He had to balance on his tiptoes to pour the juice in the set of 3 glasses that had been put out earlier. Derek noticed there wasn't a spoon clattering around in there. He pretended that he didn't. Thank you. I'm good. Okay then. You took a glass for taste, you passed on the lemonade. Thank you. At the same time, Cove and Derek tipped their cups and took full gulps of the drink. They savored the taste and you watched as the reactions transform. Cove smiled contentedly while Derek cheered with enthusiasm. It's good. Derek gave a thumbs up to that.
good job, team.
It's a perfect cup of lemonade. You gladly joined them in taking sips. Enjoying every drop of your hard work. It was absolutely refreshing. Remember, Sips says, drink you some lemonade this summer. It's a delicious summer beverage. Actually, this was even better if I want to use this. Coke chugged the rest of his drink, then placed the empty cup firmly down. His enthusiasm was continuing to rise. Let's fill the water balloons. Slowly, cautiously, Derek questioned Cole's plan. He didn't want to ruin things, but expressing concern was more important. We did not put the fancy umbrellas in the cups. Y'all betrayed me. Here. I wanted fancy umbrellas in my drink. That's why I bought them.
Are you sure?
Marina is a fancy bitch, okay? Will you really be alright in a water balloon fight with your finger and stuff? It's one finger. Cove had a cast for a whole summer. Cove remained relaxed in the face of Derek's worry. He wasn't going to bring the mood down after the commotion he caused earlier. He responded to the inquiry by slickly pulling out the big gun. Your neighbor smirked as he held up his left arm over his chest, showing the full length of the jagged, pale scar that marked him. I've had worse. Derek's eyes widened and his mouth was stuck hanging open. Derek could only imagine what Cove had gone through to get an injury such a lasting impact. Yeah, it was a jet skiing accident, Derek. But if Cole Holden said he could manage a cut, he could manage that cut.
Whoa.
You know, you're pretty tough after all.
You'd never noticed the scar before this moment, Derek. Do you pay any attention? The compliment had Cove preening. He caressed his trusty scar and giggled childishly. I know how to read. Yeah, you win that round, Clove.
Alright, let's do it.
Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you busted open the baggie of water balloons, pushed the tools of your lemonade production aside, and got to work on another summer group project. You stretched the open end of a water balloon over the faucet. The plastic fit snugly around the silver spout. You still kept your hands on it to make sure the balloon didn't pop off and shut through the stream into your face like a busted water fountain. Derek flipped the handle up for you, and the first saggy balloon rapidly expanded. Out of the bag, the balloon was a dark emerald color, but in only a few seconds, the bloated sack of water had stretched so thin the green had become almost translucent. It was pale as Cole's hair. I always thought that was weird about water balloons. It makes sense. Because you fill them up. I loved water balloons as a child. This was a thing we did all the time. I usually had to have my mom help because I couldn't tie the ends of balloons very well. But this was my favorite thing. But it's always hard cleaning up after yourself, too. Before it was pushed beyond its limit, Derek turned off the faucet again. You carefully pinched the strained top of your perfectly plump toy and then harvested off the silver mine. Cove reached out for it as he intended to tie the balloons while you and Derek continued filling. Derek looked between the balloon and Cove's hand and called a timeout. Oh! You know what? That's something I should do for summer 2025, is some water balloons. That would be fun. I haven't done that in years. He'd been a little over-eager to get involved and realized in that moment that their team arrangement wasn't the most efficient. He requested to switch positions with Cove. Cove rolled his eyes but couldn't argue. His bandage could easily be yanked right off of the taut loops of plastic that formed around the fingers while you tying them. Your optimized party got back into action with you hooking balloons into place, Cove handing water distribution, and Derek sealing the deal with a knot. Yeah, that makes sense. It's so weird to me that, I don't know where I was even going with this. They're just doing this themselves, I guess. Soon you had a couple dozen shiny water balloons overflowing in the sink basin. They're just doing this, man. Cove pushed off on the counter silently. He disappeared from the kitchen and left you and Derek wondering. He went down the hall into his bedroom. He was only gone for a minute before stepping back into the hall with a pure white, hole-speckled laundry basket. The point of that was obvious, but his choice of bin did get a bit of ribbing from Derek. Did you dump your clothes on the floor for that? Yeah, they were already dirty.
Oh.
Derek blinked. He hadn't expected that to be true or for Cove to be so straightforward about it. He snickered at the exchange, still casually leaning against the sink. I mean, that's normal behavior. I would do that too. When Cove dropped the very nearly empty laundry basket on the tile, you cradled a few water balloons in your arms and placed them inside. Cove and Derek joined in with the transfer. Eventually, every water balloon had safely made it into the basket.
Nice.
Derek and Cove each took one side and lifted, while you helped steer by grabbing the back end. Moving as one, the three of you shuffled out of the kitchen and through the living room to take your treasure chest of jiggly jewels into the neighborhood. Jiggly jewels, man. That's some wording here. Oh, GB Patch Lady. The door was opened, and the drop from the curb to the street was overcome, and you successfully placed the laundry basket in the center of the empty road. It's not that much of a drop. Your poor lemonade stall might have suffered from the lack of traffic, but that was perfect for your current activity. No civilians were likely to get caught in the crossfire of the coming battle. Yeah, I guess no one drives here unless there are people coming and going from these places. They're always out in the streets, so I assume. Well, we're here. We are here. Derek slowly curled and uncurled his fist. Cove didn't take his eyes off you or Derek. No one made a move for the pile. He broke the pause and grabbed a weapon. He held your breath. No. Cove lashed out like a snake at your move and got his hand around a balloon of his own before you could do anything with yours. Yeah, Mr. Long Arms over here. But Derek wasn't going to be left behind either. He stuck both his hands deep into the mass and came up with 2 balloons. In quick succession, Derek launched one shot at you and then the other at Cove. You felt the impact of a solid object slamming against your chest before it burst into a million pieces and a shock of cold water seeped into the front of your shirt. Cove was left sputtering with a dark stain on the lower edge of his top. He shook the hit off and chucked the balloon directly at Derek in return, and it exploded against his right shoulder. No one was dry anymore, and no one was safe. The war was on. You threw yours at Derek, you threw yours at Cove, you ran to put distance between you and them. Nah, we're getting revenge on this man. He struck first blood. It landed true and added a second dripping blotch in Derek's favorite jersey. Or even Derek.
It's on.
I'm not even bothering to read that. I like him saying it's on better. The 3 of you elbowed against the others to dig into the pile and restock your supplies, politely taking turns to settle the question. The water balloon fight was in full force. Derek sprinted up and down the street, making himself into a moving target. He'd only make a mad dash for the center area when he ran out of balloons. Cove had no fear of being an easy mark and stayed right behind the laundry basket, lobbing strike after strike at you and Derek. You hid in your home's doorway and took shots from cover. You chased after Derek. You competed with Cove for control over the pile. It was a mess with both of you sending off a barrage of balloons in close contact. At one point, Cove was shaking so hard from a chuckle fit that his attempt at a throw was so poorly the balloon didn't even pop. It just bumped against your arm before plopping on the ground. He almost fell over trying to get it back to toss again through the squeezing, and you still ended up a little wetter because of how watery your eyes had gotten from overwhelming giggles. Laughter and water splashes filled the normally quiet Sunset Bird neighborhood. You were convinced the mean grandparents would jump out and shout about the noise, then hit them with a water balloon. Luckily, no one interrupted your revelry. Boy, it would be weird if someone else lived in that condo than those mean grandparents. And the event, even if someone had, they would be putting their dryness at risk by confronting your group. Exactly. Rapidly, the amount of balloons dwindled until each person only had one left in hand, and the laundry basket had nothing except a little puddle at the bottom with scraps of rubber scattered in it. Hey, here's everyone's wet selves here. I was looking forward to, yeah. Arms were held high in the air, taking aim, and eyes shifted from one option to the other. Derek won his hand further back, and Cove and you couldn't take your eyes off him. Your teeth gritted as you desperately tried to calculate where the balloon would fly. Would it be Cove or you? However, Derek chose neither. He launched it straight up in the air. It reached an impressive height. You could barely see the speck of yellow against the vast blue sky. Until it inevitably sailed down and smacked against the tarmac. Derek broke into a more Snickers at the exact moment the balloon broke into 1,000 drops of water. Yeah, I don't like to throw balloons at people so much as at, like, objects, like house buildings and the ground and stuff. And throwing up in the air was fun. I enjoy doing that more than hitting people, because it could hurt people, right? He wasn't the only one amused by the stunt. Cove smiled bent and he opened his fingers to let his balloon drop harmlessly to the ground. This time, losing the balloon wasn't an accident. He didn't pick it back up. Instead, he brutally brought his foot against his own weapon and decimated it under his heel. A jovial truce had been formed between the two. You threw yours in the air too. You stepped in the balloon. You broke it against your own head. You threw it at Derek. You threw it at Cove. I could be that person. She is that person. But that ceasefire didn't have to apply to you. Without mercy, you pelted Cove with a final blow. It splattered against his collarbone and he yelped at the unexpected soaking. He shot you a look that might have hit as hard as your balloon if he had paired it with a wry smirk. Cove applauded the success of your sneak attack. That was how the grandest battle your neighborhood had ever likely seen came to an end. You were all dripping wet and out of breath, and you couldn't be happier. Derek rubbed his hands together in satisfaction before crouching to the ground to start collecting the tiny bits of water balloon debris. Cove strolled around to gather the confetti-like trash in his own accord as well. There didn't have to be a discussion. Derek and Cove had that quality in common, a distaste for litter. Yeah, me too. Man, I'm glad they're like that. You appreciated that about both of them and joined in to help pick up pieces off the ground. You couldn't pick that yourself. You just automatically don't like littering. I like that. You quietly wandered around, filling your fists with the rubbery remains, as the sun crept behind the condo roofs. Your shadows grew longer in the waning light. You felt the damp cling of your clothes more acutely as the excitement died down. Your team managed to finish cleaning before the night had completely fallen. All the trash was dumped into a tall green trash can at the side of Cove's house. So, I was right. This is the shortest Derek moment, by the way. The last two are really long. With all that remained of the carnage being a few drying watermarks spotting the street, your group had returned to the state you originally started in, directionless relaxation. Cove had been perfectly willing to return to his house while still wet and scrounge a fresh glass of lemonade. Plus, he still had your little umbrellas tucked under his arm. It was a struggle to balance it all. Yes! Thank you! We needed the little umbrellas! Can't leave those out. We bought those with Derek's money. But Cove took one of them for the team. Took one for the team as someone who actually lived there. Even Derek didn't have to go in and make a mess at the Holden home, though you imagine Cove's dad wouldn't have cared. He passed a drink to you and one to Derek, then he used his free hand to flip the laundry basket over. It was less flimsy than it looked because Cove sat on it and it didn't buckle at all. Derek politely passed on the seat Cove provided. He remained standing while shifting his weight from one foot to the other. You sat on the ground, you sat in the basket with Cove, you stood around near Derek. She would be sitting. She was not going to sit with Cove. Nah, she'd just stand. That's where you would be most comfortable. Derek welcomed you to the standing section with a grin. Cove quietly took a sip of his lemonade. Derek circled the top of his glass with the tip of one finger, watching Cove. Maybe a little too much of me gets into Marina sometimes. I don't know.
Are you alright?
How's your hand? Cove savored another taste of the drink, let out a refreshed sigh, and then answered.
It's okay.
It's still fine. Cool. The ritual of checking in was complete, and Derek could only chuckle bashfully over his habit. Cove smiled over the rim of his cup. There was comfort in knowing Derek would always care. Before enjoying the rest of the lemonade, Cove remarked, remember to anoint his cup with one of the mini tropical umbrellas. Derek and you both got your own from the box. You got to have pretty fancy lemonade after all. The air was warm enough to be comfortable even with your wet clothes. Lemonade, little umbrellas, and good company. That was what days like these were for. Couldn't get much better. Cove agreed contentedly without you even having to say so. Imagine if we'd bought something for ourselves and not the little umbrellas. Summer really is the best season.
Same.
I think so too.
Me three. I was just thinking about that. It's okay, I guess. Summer is the worst of them. It's only the best because of school vacation. It wins by default. You simply shrugged. So, IRL, this is what I think. It is my least favorite season. It's too hot. Although this year I am determined to have a good summer. Summer 2025, let's get it. We're not going to sit inside and complain about the heat all summer. We're going to get out and do stuff. We're going to have fun and adventures, and maybe I'll even film some stuff on this channel. Stay tuned. Summer is the worst of them, but she is just thinking about that.
Great minds think alike.
A gentle expression rested on Derek's face as he spoke softly. Marina loves summer, right?
It'd be nice if things could be like this all the time, huh?
But then Derek lifted his glass and spoke in mock outrage to the world at large.
Why can't it always be summer break?
Despite it being an obvious joke, Derek's words struck a chord with Cove. His total chill hardened into seriousness. He downed his second glass of lemonade and hopped into his feet.
I'm gonna go check something. You should come, both of you.
He considered that a sufficient offer because Cove simply walked back to the front of the house and left the empty glass at the side of the door. Derek's gaze followed his friend and he lifted one brow.
What are we gonna see? You'll see when we get there.
You're probably gonna try to talk me out of it, so you don't need to know now.
What?
No. Hang on. I stopped the recording.
What?
There's little pauses before his lines sometimes. He almost dropped his cup. Derek twisted his head to track Cove's moves with the saucer-wide eyes.
Marina's gonna get it.
Oh yeah, I'd take that. Oh yeah, Cove? Bet.
Come on.
Still completely confident, Cove strolled up the road. Derek gulped, but not the lemonade. He pointed a panicked glance at you. We should go.
Alright.
Derek hooked his open hand through the side handle of the laundry basket. He jogged his tiptoes over to Cove's condo. The bin bumped alongside the street behind him. He flung it in front of him and left it there in the entry. He placed his half-emptied lemonade by Cove's. You were right behind him. You dropped the little umbrellas into your laundry basket. You completed the set of glasses by placing yours next to theirs. Let's go. After another light jog, you caught up with Cove. He was going at a leisurely pace and smirked when he saw the two of you in the corner of his vision.
Hey. Hi.
Together, you, Cove, and Derek left your neighborhood and returned to the main sidewalk that you took to reach the grocery store hours earlier. An exchange of glances between you and Derek was the only interaction you had during the walk. Cove kept his sun-kissed face forward and his mouth shut. Shopping wasn't on your neighbor's mind because that building was passed without acknowledgement. He was taking you further down the path. Only about a minute later, your progress was halted by a row of strikingly orange traffic cones and strings of droopy nuts across banners. Oh my, I forgot we even did this. Jeez, I would have stopped the other video later then. I would have did the lemonade in the other video. I'm sorry. Here we are, though. Should we go around? No, we're here. Huh? Derek stalled. Cove, however, got into his knees in front of the blocked-off area. His eyes were glinting with intention. I saw this when we were leaving, but people were working on it. The concrete's still wet, but there's no one around now. Yet again, Cove had knocked a gasp out of Derek. You're not gonna mess it up, right? Cove didn't have to say anything to answer. He shared a coy smile, then that was enough. So, I would totally do this. I would love to do this. I've never had the opportunity to. I don't go out of my way to do it, but if I had pals I was doing it with, I do have my name in the sidewalk at my parents' house in the concrete.
Oh man.
Cove, that is really bad. No, it's not. No, it's not, Derek. It's barely anything. The grin on Derek's face trembled, both from laughter threatening to spill out and the fear of getting in trouble. Nah, it's perfect. Why am I not surprised? Cove, you can't. Yep, it makes sense. You didn't say this before. You shook your head and sighed. You stared around nervously in case anyone caught you. Nah, it's perfect. Thanks, Marina. That's what I thought. Yep, see, he knows me. He knows our gremlin energy by now. Absolutely. Cove fearlessly stuck his finger into the muddy gray concrete. He slowly etched out a series of numbers. When he's done, the corner of the block had 2011 scribbled into it for all to see. He surveyed his work with pride while wiping his dirtied finger on the side of his pant leg. Now he's got concrete on there too. You wrote your initials, you wrote all three of your initials. You wrote it's summer above Cove's 2011. You drew a heart, you drew a smiley face, you chuckled. Summer, baby. Summer. We don't need to be caught. We don't need the summer 2011, let's go. That made the more sense to you than just having it be the year.
It's nice.
Derek stared hard at the soft, forbidden canvas and slowly crouched down. He paused, bit his lip, and ultimately pressed one finger into the tacky surface to leave a small print. He'd left a sight of his presence there on that day right along with Cove and you. Relief came to Derek's features once he'd finished. Hopefully it dries before anybody finds out. Yeah. I will say this, though. I work around concrete a lot, or I have in the past. Concrete is a pain in the ass to set up. You three are bastards for doing this. The single word was only a whisper, but it was warm and pure. They're not gonna fix it. It's way too much effort to fix it. Thanks for taking us, Cove. You're welcome. Cove dusted his pants off and stood after a job well done. Derek shot up as well, newly invigorated. He looked to the sky and squinted at the sun. The day was coming to an end, but no one could say your group had wasted it. That was the true for the entire summer. No matter what happened when school started again and when an unknown future arrived, you'd still have all the memories you made together when you had the chance and things you left behind. You always know when a moment's about to end because it goes into this long monologue about, oh, it was a great day and things were great, and then there was the future and yeah. Yep. There you go. So that was our first Derek moment. This one's not too bad. These two are monsters. I'm guessing this probably isn't any longer than the Cove soiree. But, hint, we might find out. Anyways, I will see you next time. It's going to be a while. There's going to be a bit of a long hiatus between this video and the next few videos. I'm going on a summer vacation. So I won't be around to record more. So that's why there's been so many this week. Yeah, so you'll see me in a couple weeks probably. We'll get back to this and we'll finish step 2. And then as summer starts to wane, we'll finally get into step 3 and see what happens when we're adults. But until then, I'll see you next time.